comment. One specifically relating to the proposed rules we've got, and that's down farther on the list. But right now, we'd like to take any public comment we have sort of about any sort of general issues or concern. Did we get any written public comment?
We did not. Our public comment is in person, Captain Johnson.
Oh, okay. So, Captain Johnson, do you want to have public comment now?
Yeah, do you want to go over there?
Sure. Yeah, great.
If you don't know me, I'm Captain Johnson, Seattle Fire Department. Thevia, good to meet you. Sarah, good to meet you. Commissioner Reese, good to meet you. Also, Commissioner Green.
Could you hold on just for a second? It was muted at the start of the meeting, so if you could just re-announce what this meeting is, because it was muted. So
all right.
They couldn't hear you on the recording.
So this is the April 18th, 10 o'clock meeting of the Public Safety Civil Service Commission.
April 14th. Oh, so sorry, that's wrong.
Oh, this is
April. Is it April 14th?
It's 18.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Sorry, you're right.
Hi, Commissioner Applegate, also on the phone. What's my time?
Maybe a couple minutes.
Okay, well, I have like 4 or 5 items.
All right,
a couple of minutes
sure.
might go.
All right, that's
So,
fine.
okay,
That's fine.
the first one just coming in. The security didn't know anything about this meeting. They had to look it up, and they didn't have that. I approved about the meeting with my email on my phone, which I don't have my email on my phone. Security notoriously is difficult, but they did escort me up here and follow me around, including following me to the bathroom. So I asked if someone can update security when there's a meeting here, so I can get in here. Maybe I don't know if it's just me or anybody, where I need to be in uniform. However, multiple times now, when I come and go to security, I get harassed. Is this a dialogue? Is there any feedback, or is it just listening?
It's just for you to tell us anything you want to say. It's not really a conversation.
Okay, so you will have no feedback.
Right.
Go. And it's noted in the notes. So if I ask for the notes, what I'm saying is going to be in the notes. In a bullet point, not word for word.
No, I don't think so. I mean, these meetings again are recorded, but our minutes are pretty basic. Simply saying that there was public comment and there was public comment given. That's about as much as details we're going to get into in the minutes.
Okay, will it be that it was me?
I'm sorry?
Will it be that it was me, Doug Johnson, giving public comment?
I don't know. Do we name the people who give public comment?
I have named people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. My ask for number 1 is during the promotional process, we as in the city of Seattle have gone to emails for things like you go to the next step, they email. And my ask is that you back that up with a hard, old-fashioned post office mailing also. Reason being that some people might be on disability, some people might not have access to the computer on a long vacation. We are not mandated, or is not policy if we are off work to check our mail. So my ask, we used to do this, as far as I know, I have gotten things in the mail from Public Safety Civil Service, and my ask is to back it up with a hard copy so we don't miss anything. The last promotional exam for the chief, someone was missed. 2, if I email someone, I have had experiences, and some other people have experiences with emailing people on PS, Public Safety Civil Service, and not getting an answer. There should be a time limit on when you give an answer to someone, and emails should not be ignored. I've had emails ignored. I don't know how that's acceptable when you email ignored, and if I have the Bill of Rights for the city of Seattle, and it specifically says you should follow up with emails within 1 day. If you don't know the answer to something, you should be able to pass that on to someone else, so that person, that customer, gets an answer. Now, I believe that the promotional candidates are customers of the Public Safety Civil Service, and questions and emails should be answered timely. Now, I've had slow responses, so the time expires. like showing up to an interview, and I've been ignored when I send emails. A simple policy, whether you make a committee and come up with a policy, or a policy that you respond to emails within 1 day or 2 days, I feel is appropriate. I believe we should have preferential points for entry-level candidates, possibly professionals, for language, including ASL. Right now, the Seattle Fire Department does not give preferential points for foreign languages. They do for veterans and veterans only. It's my understanding, maybe Rachel can help, that foreign language for police or other agencies are given. It's not a difficult process. There are already tests that can be used. I think the monetary obligation will be minimal for that. Lastly, I'll say all books which are on the promotional for the Seattle Fire Department should be accessible in a library, with the exception possibly of equity-based books. I believe we have gone out of bounds with the spirit of what our educational system is, or our training, or our promotional system, to make promotional candidates buy the books. Some people have kids, some people can't afford it. You might buy the wrong edition. That edition might be hard to find. We have jumped around a lot with our committees on the books, and also we need to have these books in the library if we want to be, I believe, professional in what we're doing. That concludes my public statement. You said you don't have any questions. You're not going to take any questions about here. If you have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Oh, and Applegate, you're on the phone. Thank you. He's not talking.
Yes, I'm here, and I keep comments.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I had a chance to look at the March meeting. They seem appropriate to me, so I would move that we approve the minutes of the March 19th meeting as distributed.
A second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. So those are approved. So the next item on the agenda is the Public Records Act training.
Teresa, do we have here?
Okay.
That's Ann.
And
That's Ann.
you might have to.
No, Ann, not.
Oh, he's here. That's him.
Karen, can you hear us?
That's Ann.
Oh, that's.
Aaron.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here. Yep. There we go. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen if that's all right. I would like to, let's see here. For today's presentation, my name is Aaron Valla. I'm an assistant city attorney with the Government Affairs section of the City Attorney's Office, and I advise the city on Public Records Act matters. And today I'm here to provide a training on the Public Records Act. It may serve as a refresher, but it's always something that we'd like to keep in mind as we go through our daily work. So with that in mind, I'm going to get started here. right now. So I just want to, there we go. Can you see the presentation? I'm sorry, I can't see you to
Yes.
verify. Great,
I can
thank
see
you
that.
so much. So again, it's entitled for the Civil Service Commission and the Public Safety Civil Service Commission, but I want you to know that this is training for your group. You share administrative background and an administrative team between the commissions, and so it does include the references to both commissions, but this is really a training for your commission, just for your awareness. So with that in mind, what we're talking about today is the Public Records Act, and it is a state law that is a transparency law that applies to all local and state agencies within the state of Washington. And that includes boards and commissions of local agencies such as the city of Seattle. So it does apply to your commission. Essentially, it's you may be more familiar with the Freedom of Information Act at the federal level. The Public Records Act is our state version. It was passed by an initiative to really give the people access to the work that we do here as public servants. So when we're talking about a public record, it includes any writing containing information related to the conduct of government or the performance of any governmental or proprietary function that is prepared, owned, used, or retained by an agency. That's a lot of words for a pretty simple concept, is that any records that we create in the course of our work, it doesn't matter what the format of those records might be, are subject to the Public Records Act. There may be exemptions that apply that allow us to redact or withhold certain information consistent with the statutes and statutory law and case law. However, it really applies to any type of writing. So that can be handwritten notes, that can be electronic records, that can be photographs, that can be videos or audio recordings, text messages, or Teams messages. Any type of discernible record can contain a writing and become a public record if it's in the furtherance of your work as a commissioner. The takeaways from today's training are that the records you create in the course of your work as commissioners are public records, subject to the requests and disclosure. So that's just something for your awareness, and it's also just a heads up for our work. The notes, recordings, and recorded communications that you create in the course of your work are public records, even if they're prepared or retained on personal devices or in a personal account. So to the extent that non-city accounts are being used for commission work, those records can be considered public records. There's something where the city will not itself search those devices, but it is something where we may ask you to perform a search of your own device or your own account, and then provide the records to your public disclosure officer to respond to a request. Personal notes can be subject to disclosure, but they may not need to be retained beyond your business need for them if they have not been requested. This is something to look into in terms of your own documents. How long do you need them, for what purposes? And we want to follow city retention policies on in terms of how long we keep records. And again, use of a personal device or account will potentially result in the phone number or email address being disclosed in the course of that. That's something where, again, we will not be, the city will not be searching those devices, but if you're using a personal number or personal email account, that the actual address or phone number may be disclosed in the course of the work. Kind of as a breakdown as to who does what in terms of responding to a public records request, the public disclosure officer will acknowledge, will take in the public records request, and those can come in generally through our GovQA public records portal, but they can also come in through email or by phone or in person, including requests that may occur during a public meeting. This is something where the public disclosure officer will acknowledge the public disclosure request within 5 business days, communicates with the requesters and clarify requests as needed, performs and arranges for searches of relevant locations on city systems, and will reach out to subject matter experts and records custodians as needed to obtain the records to respond to requests. That means the public disclosure officer may need to reach out to you as a commissioner in order to obtain records if they are not kept on city systems themselves. They may also reach out to you to understand certain records if there's needed to a certain exemption. There are some oftentimes factual considerations that go into a certain exemption, and they may need some more information. The public records officer public disclosure officer will also review the search results for responsiveness to a request and assert any applicable statutory exemptions as permitted by the Public Records Act. So what we need you to do as commissioners is to be aware of the potential public disclosure requests that come in outside the city public records portal. So again, this is if you are reached out with a request either to your direct email, making a request for records, or in person during your work as a commissioner, please let your public records officer know as quickly as possible. Again, there's a 5 business day statutory response time. So this can happen through at a meeting, through email. If you're not sure if something's been a public disclosure request, go ahead and reach out to your public disclosure officer. They can work to make that determination and respond accordingly. We do also need you to preserve records responsive to a request. Once a request has come in, even if a record could have been destroyed under the records retention schedules, we have an obligation to preserve it and use it to respond to the request. When you're asked to help respond to a request, please provide relevant information about any search terms and any sensitive material that may fall under a statutory exemption. Again, we might need you to pull your own records to respond to a request. But if you have information as to why a particular piece of information is sensitive, you can let your public disclosure officer know, and that they may be able to then identify a relevant exemption. It's something where we don't want you to self-edit in that terms. You need to provide all responsive records, but you can let the public disclosure officer know if there's something that you believe to be potentially exempt. And again, we may ask you to perform a search of your non-city devices or accounts if they're used for commission business, and you may be asked to provide an affidavit verifying that a search was performed to fulfill our Public Records Act obligations. There are many exemptions. Here are some common ones. Because this is a public meeting, we're not going to go into legal advice here, but there are exemptions that are recognized by the Public Records Act, including the attorney-client privilege, work product, and several exemptions under RCW 4256-250 that apply to personal information that you have as a city employee. There's also protections around ongoing decision-making processes. Questions about exemptions can be referred to your public disclosure officer or to me at the city attorney's office offline outside of this, so that we can proceed with legal advice if it's needed in a particular situation.
Aaron, I have a question about exemption. I mean,
Yes.
for instance, are personnel, like personal evaluations, are those exempt?
Yes, performance evaluations,
Right.
and they're like standard annual performance evaluations. They have been found to be exempt under RCW 4256-230 sub 3 in published court cases. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Consequences for noncompliance. So there are statutory penalties and some non-legal implications that can happen if an agency does not comply with the Public Records Act. There is no personal liability. The liability is at the agency level. So this is not something where a commissioner is going to be personally sued for a Public Records Act non-compliance, but this is something where the city and your department can be sued. If there's PRA litigation, however, you may be asked to provide testimony or declarations as to your involvement in responding to a request, and that can take away from the good work that you're doing as part of this commission. It's something that again, we want to comply, and if litigation does occur, but there may be additional work that's needed to respond to that litigation. Where an agency has been found to have denied a request for an opportunity to inspect a public record or hasn't made a reasonable estimate of how long it will take to respond to a request, a court can assess penalties of up to $100 per day per record. This can add up very quickly. There have been cases out there where courts have decided that each particular page is a separate record, and of course that would, doing the math there, that would add up very, very quickly. There are also, if a violation has been found, a court may hold an agency responsible for the requester's costs to receive those records and attorney's fees, which are also can be very expensive. Non-compliance can also result in unfavorable media attention, a breakdown in trust with the public and people being served by the agency, and can tie up agency resources. And it's something that takes away from your primary mission here, doing good work on behalf of the city. This is something where, again, a lot of the work that we do for the public is based on trust. They trust us with their support, and so breaking down that trust can really make everyone's work a lot more difficult. So the overall takeaways from today's training, just to be aware of as you go forth and do your work as a commissioner, in terms of the Public Records Act, are that again, the records that we create, that we prepare, own, or use, or retain as a commissioner are subject to public records requests. Requests can come to you directly, but when they do, please do work with your public disclosure officer. They're the right staff to put it to give it to, and they will make sure that a response gets out within the statutory deadline, and also that all the formalities are followed from then on. But your assistance might be needed to help fully understand a request. Sometimes, public disclosure officers are often pretty tied into what their commissions or their units are doing, but if they may not understand exactly what a requester might be asking for, so they might ask you to help with understand a request or to locate or provide responsive records. And then once a record request has been received, you'll have to preserve those records. So that's an important step that, again, if records are on cities' systems, that'll be easier to do. But if it's on your personal system, you'll just want to make sure that you keep it in accordance with records retention laws and also what is going on here with the Public Records Act. So I am here for questions. Again, legal advice questions should be taken offline. I can respond to those, in the future if you reach out. I would also, if there's a legal question about a particular request, I recommend that you work with your public disclosure officer to reach out. That way, everyone can stay on the same page. If there's any questions that you come up that I can answer today, more about the act in general, I'm happy to do that. Again, I just wanted to say thank you for your time and for your service, and thank you for having me in today to talk about this topic. We want to make sure that you guys are fully informed moving forward in your work. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Are there any questions from anyone? Alrighty.
Appreciate your time, Aaron.
Thanks,
Thank you
Aaron.
very much. Have a great day.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the updates discussion. So the first thing we have are the fire exit update. So Mishada, you want to start?
Sure.
Oh,
Do you want to start? Yeah, come on up. Be wherever you like.
So, Adelaide was unable to be with us today, and Deepa will be giving the report on the entry level and lateral entry application.
So for entry level police officer, this year we have a total of 1,324 applicants. We're continuing to send SPD list of eligible candidates every other week. And so far in 2025, 379 candidates have been placed on the register and sent to SPD for further screening. So that's entry level. And then for lateral, we have 27 applicants this year who have met the lateral requirements. So far, 8 candidates have been placed on the register. And our next oral board interview, which happens monthly, we have 4 candidates scheduled to participate, and that's tomorrow.
I just want to note that the number of applications that we have received in 2025 is now double what we received in 2024. Unless I'm looking at it wrong. Is that right?
Yes, that sounds about right, actually.
That's wild.
And the period for applicants is, it's continuous testing now, so it just keeps accumulating. So at the end of the year, we'll be running stats on all of that, but we used to have exam cycles. And so I don't know if that's helping with regard to encouraging people. They know they can apply now and then test when it's convenient for them. But they are definitely doing that and following through.
Yeah, and let me clarify, it's double what we had received at this point in the year,
Last year.
2024, not the total year. But so applications continue apace.
Yes, they do. Thank you. On the promotional side of things, we just completed the promotional exam process for Seattle Police Captain. We ended up having 17 individual police participate in that process. And that took place between the April 7th and April 12th. We had assessors here helping us with that process from San Jose Police Department, San Diego, Sacramento, Portland. These are all the independent assessors who come and are trained in, the exercises and how to conduct a merit-based process. They help us with that. So we conduct a day of training in which there are mock orals. Our members of the development committee or captains who helped us put the test together, they pretended they were candidates and went through the process, and that was to help the assessors synchronize their use of the scoring rubric for the candidates going through the process. So that process is complete. We now have all the scoring and addition of service credit and that to take place so that we can put out an eligibility register by August 29th, which is when that's due. For the rank of lieutenant, we are looking forward to starting that process on the 28th of this month. And it will go through the May 1st. And we have 19 candidates at this point who are scheduled to participate.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Rachel or Eva? Okay, thank you very much. So for the fire exams, Yoshika, talk about that.
You guys want to sit over there so you can kind of look at everybody? We might need to change this table configuration.
Yeah. Be happy to.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I'm Yoshiko Grace Matsui. I'm the fire exams administrator.
Joe Stoverson.
Fire exams analyst. So we have a couple of updates today about the current status of some of our exams. You'll hear from Seattle Fire Department in a moment about their part of the process, but as you know, we concluded the firefighter entry level exam back in February. And we are marching straight into putting on the next firefighter annual exams as we move to a ongoing annual exam schedule. So right now, Amy Jo and I are working on facilities location, and pretty soon a solicitation email to ask for development committee members for that ongoing process. Also happening currently is the lieutenant's exams. So coming up for that, we've concluded the written exam portion of that, and we're moving into oral board administration, which will be happening in May. We take over basically this floor. So we're going to have 8 oral boards happening simultaneously, which means that we have to have a space where there are 8 rooms available and empty and quiet. We bring in volunteers, people to help us out from Seattle Department of Human Resources will be assisting us to administer those exams. It's going to be all day long. We have 52 candidates who are going to be coming through that process. Also in development right now is fireboat engineer. Our written exam is coming up on June 9th. Currently, there are 5 candidates, which is about average for that number. There are only 4 fireboat engineer positions in the entire department. So 5 candidates is actually kind of a lot. And then because we are continuously moving forward and nothing quite stays still, we're getting ready, sorry to say this, Chief, for our 2026 exams. So captain, battalion chief, and fireboat pilot will be coming up in our even years. That concludes my update.
Thank you. Yeah. Any questions for Rachel or Amy Jo? Yoshiko. Yoshiko, sorry, Yoshiko. Any questions? All right, great. Thank you very much. And do we have?
We do. We have Mr. McKenzie and Ms. Towler, it looks like, from the Seattle Fire Department. McKenzie's from police and Ms. Towler from fire. Looks like she's up on the screen first.
Sure.
Ms. Towler, could you share the data about hiring and pockets in the Seattle Fire Department?
Sure thing. As Yoshiko was saying, we're on our annual entry firefighter selection process now. First annual process. Very exciting. We've seen huge improvements in response rates. We were at like 10% response at the end of about 2.5 years of the last register. And Hannah reached out to 333 candidates and received employment packets from 281 in the last month. So yeah, fantastic, like way better, way better. Very happy about that. Let's see, year to date, 31 separations here at Fire of uniform staff. We've hired just that one class so far, recruit class 122, started in February. We've got a class coming August 13th. That'll be our second class. And then we have the lateral paramedic. We're at 12 candidates right now going through screening. They will be in an expedited recruit training starting in June. Let's see, our authorized uniform budget pockets remains 1,112, and we are just under 1,000 uniform staff at 989. That's it for us. Any questions?
Thank you so much for that update.
Yeah, any questions, anybody?
When you say anybody, can I ask a question, or are you saying anybody right there?
Mainly I was asking for the commissioners. If they have any questions.
No questions.
All right. Great, thank you very much. So on the SPD side, Mr. McKenzie is here. Yes. Right.
Hello, everyone.
Teresa, do you want to click them over to the screen?
Ready for me? Okay, so as of the end of March, authorized budgeted pockets was 1,041. That number is going to remain the same throughout this calendar year. Current staffing number, all sworn, was 1,017. As of yesterday, we had 23 separations year to date and 61 hires.
Could you repeat all of those numbers again, Mr. McKenzie? Thank you.
Sure. Authorized budget pockets, this is as of the end of March, but also for all of 2025, this number will stay the same, 1,041. Current staffing number, 1,017. As of yesterday, separations year to date, 23. Hires year to date, 61.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Do separations include probationary separations?
Yes, they would.
Thank you. I am not sure, Mr. McKenzie, that I'm getting copies of the probationary separation notices. Would you mind? We can follow up on that outside of this meeting too.
Happy to.
Thank you.
So do we have any info on laterals?
Yeah, I can, hold on. Wasn't prepared for that question, but if you'll just give me a second, I can find it. All right, laterals, year to date, 7. 7 hired.
Okay, great. Good. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. McKenzie?
No questions.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the information. The next item on the agenda is the Executive Director of Budget and Departmental Updates. Ms. Shealy.
Thank you. The first item here is April 2025 rulemaking, which is an potential action item that I'll get to later on. We'll get to later on in the agenda. So that's just to mention that. And now I'm going to pull up my notes. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. Here we go. Thank you. All right, the departmental update. Well, we had our department, a couple people in our department went and met with new council member Solomon. It was a really good meeting to share about the Public Safety Civil Service Commission and the Civil Service Commission. And Councilmember Solomon, as an SPD employee, is also already aware of these two systems, and I think a member of one of them. So that was really a good meeting, and his office was kind enough and generous enough to share out in his weekly newsletter about the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. So I'm going to send that along to commissioners. Just a nice shout out to people in the city of Seattle and city employees. We have an open public safety examiner senior position that was added as part of the 2025 budget. That position is open now, closes next Tuesday. So we hope we're getting some really qualified candidates for that. We've had very good hiring processes in the past. And that is the position that will add capacity to our team so that we can do yearly firefighter and support our other work. Coming up, we have hired a summer intern. We've hired a graduate student at the University of Washington Evans School. Her name is Annika Peterson. She might be watching. Hi, Annika. She'll be joining us in June to do some research projects for both commissions.
Looking at an intern. Good.
I think you might be not muted, Ms. Towler, possibly. Yeah, so we're really excited to have Ms. Peterson join us. She's gonna be working on some research and coming to our meetings. I think she might be watching our meeting today. We're very excited about that. The budget update, everyone is aware, I'm sure, of the city's sort of struggles with its revenues. So it is a tough budget time. We are working with the city budget office and the mayor's office, and eventually working with the city council to put together our 2026 budget. That's the second year in the biennium. You know, I can't make any predictions, but I will be advocating as hard as we can to maintain the current budget. And, you know, based on the past couple of years, I think that public safety has a lot of support among our electeds. It's the #1 priority for many or all of them. So I'm hopeful, you know, that we will not see any reductions or no significant reductions in our budget. As for our current budget, we have a report in your packet, page 5, showing our year-to-date. It's probably not as of today, but as of a few days ago, these were our year-to-date expenditures. I am not putting up last year's as a comparison because it's not a useful comparison anymore now that we have expanded our department by, I think our budget more than doubled. But if that's something you'd like to know about, please, commissioners are welcome to contact me. As you can see, we're well within our projected spending for the year. The nature of the work here is I wouldn't say sort of cyclical on a long-term cycle, but you know, there are certain parts of the year where a lot of invoices come in, consultant fees towards the end of the year. So we may remain under our projected spending for most of the year and then have a lot of bills come due. But I do expect us to either underspend or spend right on our allocated budget. We did also get approval for the carry forward that the amount that we've carried forward the last couple of years that is in reserve for the department and each of the commissions should they need additional funds to pay for outside legal costs, which we've spent some, but we get very good representation and advice from our city attorney partners. So hopefully we won't need it. Let's see. Financial interest statements. Teresa, did you have anything you wanted to add on those?
We are at 100%.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job, commissioners and staff. Thank you on behalf of the Ethics and Elections Office. We do want to update. Do we need to take a vote on? No, we do not need to take a vote on. We're going to be doing a training, but I don't think it requires a vote. This is later on in the summer to help prepare commissioners and staff for some hearings that we have one scheduled for later on this year. It's a disciplinary appeal. We will be talking and working together to prepare for that. talking about the burden of proof, how to take evidence, hearing arguments, asking questions, motions. We'll be talking a little bit about logistics and deliberation and writing a decision. This will be a longer session, open to the public. We'll hold it at a meeting. And we'll be working, thank you in advance to the city attorney's office for supporting the commission in that work. Those are my updates. Just thanks to all of the members of the staff for really showing up, doing a great job. Thanks to Aaron Balla for supporting us in our public records work. And that wraps up my report.
Great. Any questions of Ms. about this?
No questions.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is the case status report and updates.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner Green. We'll go to page 6 of your materials. The commission has 2 disciplinary appeals before it. The one is former Officer Hill versus Seattle Police Department. You've seen this one on your case status report before. This matter is scheduled for hearing starting September 22nd. We are currently in the pre-hearing phases, so the parties are in discovery, and if there are any pre-hearing matters, I will preside over those. We did issue a hearing schedule, which is in your packet as well. If you have any questions about that schedule, feel free to let us know. It starts on page 8. The second matter on the case status report is Officer England versus Seattle Police Department. That's also a disciplinary appeal. We conducted the pre-hearing conference in that matter in February, and the parties they're cooking along. They're also in the discovery phase. We will be, if we're not already, reaching out to commissioners to schedule that hearing, which the parties have estimated they would be 2 days for that appeal to be heard. Have not yet issued a scheduling order because we don't have the hearing dates yet. The rest of the case status report has some closed matters and reflects requests for reinstatement to the eligible register that have been approved or withdrawn this year, as well as requests for probationary extension, which we received for both the Seattle Police and Fire Departments. Can I answer anyone's questions about that?
I don't have any questions. Any of the commissioners have any questions about those issues?
No questions.
Right.
Thank you so much.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is proposed rulemaking. This is on pages 13 through 27. So first thing I'd like to do is, so Andrea, do you want to talk about that first? We want to have public comment on.
Let me get to my packet. Yeah, we definitely do want to have a public comment period, but I'm happy to do a little introduction to the rulemaking first, but it's up to you, Commissioner.
Sure, why don't you do that?
All right, so some background on this proposed rulemaking. These proposed revisions are in response to Ordinance 127, which was passed into law as part of the 2025 Seattle budget. The ordinance revised the Seattle Municipal Code to transfer the Public Safety Exams Unit from the Seattle Human Resources Department to the Civil Service Department. And the budget transferred positions and non-labor budget, along with just the unit itself. The Public Safety Civil Service rules contain some references to Seattle Human Resources as the department and a role for the director as overseeing certain exam functions. And these proposed rule changes update those references as appropriate, and make other minor formatting and typographical updates. None of the changes are substantive. The substantive change was done by the ordinance and has already been codified in the Seattle Municipal Code. So this is sort of it's a non-substantive cleanup. We did some fairly significant outreach to stakeholders, as we always do. It's our routine outreach. We contacted all of the 2 public safety departments, as well as the 4 public safety unions, to notify them ahead of the public comment period, and received no comment back from them. No one wanted to ask me to consult on it. No one asked Sarah Butler, who was doing the outreach, to consult on it. I did speak to Director Lee when we were talking about another item, and she said, I asked her specifically if she had any comments. She did not have any. She said she understood the changes. So, and we did not receive any written public comment on this either, did we, Ms. Jacobs? We did. So you'll see in your packet also the publication. At page 20 is the portion of Seattle Municipal Code that says that you as the commission are authorized to make rules. Page 15 has the affidavit of publication as required by the Seattle Municipal Code, the rulemaking portion of the code that we published. We met the requirements of the law for the public notice, publishing in the newspaper of record, Seattle Daily Journal of Commerce. You'll see the publication on page 16. We did not include all of the email notice, but there was much email notice to all of those stakeholders. And we also published to our website, I believe it was on April 3rd, the proposed changes and notice of rulemaking. So maybe now would be a good time to get public comment, and then I can also go into the details of I would just be describing what's in the packet. So you all let me know if you want me to do that.
So is there any public comment on these proposed rule changes? Sure, Dr. Johnson.
I just need some clarity, really, and I understand the public comment. It seems like y'all sit there, right? But my question is, I'm making sure that the public comment can't be made online, and that is in the bounds of the open, the Meetings Act, Accessible Meetings Act that comes in if someone can't come here for whatever reason, don't you at a public meeting have to give them the opportunity to talk? So public, yeah, I wrote down public meetings, that's the Accessibility Act.
And so just to answer the website has a specific provision about public comment. And it says that the commission welcomes public comment on agenda items for its meetings. And there are 2 ways to participate. You can provide oral comments by attending the meeting in person. Or you may also submit written comments by emailing them to a specific email address, which is provided at least 24 hours before the meeting. And that's the way that the public comment is submitted. So if for those who want to come to the meeting and provide oral comment, they can do it that way, or they can submit it through email 24 hours in advance of the meeting.
Yeah, just make sure we're in alignment here. Those 2 ways are within the bounds of the Public Meetings Accessibility Act. You're saying yes.
Open Public Meetings Act.
I'm not sure if it's the same thing. I just want to make sure we're in the same bounds. Okay. And Director Sheila, you said you're going to go over these
changes.
The changes. Are you going to go over the spirit of the changes or just read them? Because kind of, it's very legalese when you're
The only reason for the changes is to remove references to the Seattle Human Resources Department and Director, because the unit has moved to this department. They used to be in Human Resources. They're in the Civil Service Department now. So it is to bring the administrative rules, the Public Safety Civil Service Commission rules, into alignment with the law. we're not breaking the law. It's just to correct that they live in this department now. There are no substantive changes. Nothing will change about how exams are administrated or employees' rights or duties within the system. That is the spirit of the change, of the proposed change.
Okay, and I was saying, are you going item by item or no? That'd be wrong.
You know, I think it's up to the commission if they, I mean, I'm happy to, yeah, so we just have it on the record. I'd be happy
No,
to.
and the reason I was asking is if you say something and I have a question, I don't want to present now and then you jump to that and answer that question. That's kind of silly, kind of like my language, the foreign language preferential points. That's in this, correct?
No,
I'll just try to give you.
I don't think so. There might be a rule change that's within that rule, but the purpose of any proposed rule change is just to remove references to the Seattle Human Resources Department because they're not involved anymore.
My question is, if you go through this right now, am I forfeiting talking or not? You can say yes, that's fine.
Yes, I would suggest
fine.
any comment that you have, I would suggest putting it now.
Thank you. And I'm saying that that question might come up while you're reading it, and that's inappropriate. But I understand that you're the executive. I just put it on the record that I think that's wrong. You should probably read it, then have comments.
Well, Chair Green, you're the presiding officer. You decide what the order of events is here. So if you'd like to go first and then take public comment, or either way, it's up to you decide how you want to do that.
Well, I'd like to get any public comment on any of the rules right now, if we could do that. So does anyone have any public comment on any of the proposed rule changes? Okay. All right. So, and we got no written.
We did not.
Okay. All right. So now I think probably we should go through these sort of rule by rule. So if you want to talk about the first one, which is rule 2.13.
Yes. For rule 2.13, the proposed changes are on page 22 of the packet. And the proposed change to 2.13 would remove subsection A, which contains reference to the Seattle Human Resources Director, because that position is not involved, does not oversee the public safety exams unit any longer. I'll note that subsection A was added to the rules after the exams unit first transferred to SHR in the early 2000s. And so the proposed change suggested for 2.13 would revert this rule back to its original language.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the commissioners or discussion about that particular rule?
No questions.
Okay, so I am going to move that we approve the.
So I suggest you will approve them all at the end.
We went all ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's all been presented.
Good enough. Good enough. All right. So the next proposed change is to rule 8.07.
Thank you. The proposed change to rule 8.07 is a strike through, as you see on page 22 of the materials, to remove reference to the Seattle Human Resources Department, where the unit was relocated from and no longer resides.
Any questions or discussion from the commissioners about that proposed change?
I have a question,
Sure.
Commissioner Mays. Why isn't it, instead of the Seattle Human Resources Department, can we list out like a specific department related to us instead of SDHR? So this is just saying like the executive director, so it's you, and then this one says or designee. So does it have to be just you, or could it be a designee of a department?
It could be a designee. I think it is implied in Rule 2. It's not even implied, it's stated in Rule 2 that the executive director can't delegate responsibility to the staff. But I think that your proposal might be even clearer. You could say it sounds like what you might be proposing is the executive director or designee from the civil service department, right? Okay, I would agree with that proposal.
So or designee from the department,
From the civil service department.
from the. Okay. So any discussion about that particular proposed amendment?
Do we still have you, Commissioner Applegate?
Yes, I'm here following.
Thank you. Glad to hear it.
No other questions?
And just as a matter of procedure, so if you continue on this path, which is a good way to go, at the end, you would identify that you are moving to adopt the proposal as
Amended.
right, gotcha.
Okay, so the next proposed change is to Rule 9.09.
Thank you. Yes, for 9.09, the proposal removes reference to the SHR director and department and changes that reference to the Public Safety Civil Service Exams Unit staff. So it does a similar thing to what the proposed changes to 8.09, but it simply makes true the change that has already occurred. It makes it reflected correctly in these rules, where the unit used to be in Seattle Human Resources and is now in the Civil Service Commission department.
So any questions or discussions about that proposed rule change?
No questions.
Okay. So the next one is a series of proposed changes to Rule 9.15.
Yes, thank you. These are all formatting and style changes in 9.15. This is to military personnel and promotional exams. There's a section of definitions. The proposed changes include no substantive changes to any definition, but does take out references to he or she, and just says such employee. This is in accordance with city style recommendations. There's also, you'll see at the definition of regular employee, scheduled examination, updated register. This is to capitalize those things that are defined. And there's one more similar changes and then one to change another capitalization at the bottom of the word subsections. If we go on to page 24, we're still in the same rule. There are proposed changes that would remove reference to the Seattle Human Resources Department and replace it simply with Public Safety Civil Service Exams Unit, which is in the Civil Service Department. I do not think there is need to name this department since we've already done it. There are a few more pages that proposed changes that continue on page 24 in the same rule, that definitions section. But those proposed changes are all like the ones I just described, formatting or to remove reference to the Seattle Human Resources Department.
I've got a proposed amendment to this. Under the definition of preparation period, which is in the top of page 23, it currently says the time period with the publication of the final examination bibliography. I think Joe talked to me about this, and we think that what that's supposed to say is the time period beginning with the publication of the final exam bibliography and ending with the scheduled examination. So I'm suggesting we replace the second word time with the word beginning.
I read that the same way as you, Commissioner Gray.
Good. Okay. Any questions or discussion about changes to Rule 9.15?
No questions.
All right, so the last one we have is those changes to Rule 9.20 with respect to preference for multilingual candidates. And Officer Johnson or Captain Johnson, I note that does strike me as puzzling why it only applies to the police department.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to speak to both of those questions. First, I'll speak to the proposed changes, and then I'll speak to Captain Johnson's question and comment. The proposed changes to Rule 9.20, preference for multilingual candidates, would remove reference to the SHR director, as we've discussed earlier, as well as remove reference to the developing a verification process, and also to an implementation date. I propose to remove reference to developing a verification process. We have now accomplished that. We have a verification process for multilingual candidates, as well as the implementation date. It was implemented and that date has passed. So those are no longer needed. On the question of police having a multilingual preference points program and Seattle Fire Department not having one, is this Seattle Police Department and we were required to implement this multilingual preference points program because of the 2017 Police Accountability Ordinance. It's a long, complicated process, which we all know a little bit or a lot about, but this was an act of the Seattle City Council and Mayor, so it's by law. And also, I think a very good idea, but it has not been really seriously proposed. I appreciate Captain's, until now, Captain Johnson's suggestion. It would require additional money to do such a thing for the Seattle Fire Department, but if the commission wanted to take this up or engage in a discussion about it, we'd be happy to do that.
Is this something that we could do ourselves, or do you think we would need an order of council approval to implement a multi-language preference for the fire department?
I think it's because this has just come up. It's something that at this point it'd be a matter of, does the commission want to consider this as a potential change? And then to work with the executive director to pursue that and to look into those kinds of issues. Okay. To your question.
And the other question I had is so does the ordinance that sort of implemented this, does it include American Sign Language as a multilingual thing?
As one of the languages.
Yeah. Do we know that?
Rachel would know the answer.
It didn't include it specifically. However, if a candidate was familiar, I've had requests for tests to be conducted for ASL, but no one has reached that point yet where they have to take it. But yes, we would include ASL.
Okay, good. All right.
It's the kind of thing, and I mean, this would not be I don't know what the cost would be to implement such a program, but whenever there is a cost, we have to, the commission can take action. We would of course discuss it with the department, but there has to be a place where the money is going to come from. And we always just have to be mindful of that.
All right, so is there any further discussion or questions about the proposed change?
This is Commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner Applegate. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I did have a question. I'm not sure if this relates directly to it, but it's just part of the conversation. There was a symposium a couple months ago for Public Safety Civil Service, and one of the primary focuses of the symposium, they were discussing a national law. I believe it was a national law that had been changed within the last year or two, where the fire department would be able to initiate a multilingual program, and that would be up to them. It would not be outside of the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. I don't know if I'm very clear on this, but I guess the question that I had is, has the commission been in contact with the fire department, or is there any information from the fire department if that's something that they're considering implementing?
Thank you, Commissioner Applegate. I did have some conversations right after that conference with the Seattle Fire Department, and there was some interest from them. They we talked about it and decided that it wouldn't work very well. It's a state law, and it's trying to remember if it's not a requirement that agencies do it. It's pretty complicated, and I don't remember all of the details. I didn't refresh my memory before preparing for this meeting. The city of Seattle is not moving forward on that right now, but that's not to say that we wouldn't want to implement a multi-label program for firefighters. I'm sorry, I don't remember all of the details right now. It's something that Seattle Fire Department has interest in, but other hiring priorities have really taken a lot of the space and energy and resources in the months since then.
I understand, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Commissioner Mace, did you have?
Yes, well, more so a comment. For the multilingual candidates, I would be interested in possibly exploring it for the fire department. I know that there may not be a budget available. I know that it may be somewhat of a process to go through, but I feel like all this work that we're doing, we're referencing both units, fire and police in a lot of areas, probably more than 80% of the document. And then we have certain small sections that just reference the police department. And I'm just thinking from an inclusive standpoint, and just making sure that we are being as inclusive as possible. I think it would be worth at least exploring to see what that would potentially look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm open to even just having a discussion with you to see what the process would look like potentially. But I would be interested in exploring what that would look like for next steps.
Yes, so would I. I think it's odd that there's most everything applies to both departments.
And then
there's here and there you find ones that don't. So.
And just in terms of background on that, because that is an interesting point, but it relates to that accountability ordinance, which just has to do with the police department.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain things that are within that ordinance that are codified, and that the codification is kind of sometimes confusing because the way that ordinance was passed. But there's been amendments to it, so that applies just to the police department, and so that's why it's part of the rule process. But it's a good opportunity too to say, well, if that's something important for the police department, then why wouldn't it be important to the fire department? Or could it be important to the fire department also?
I think ordinances like that, you're right. But for me, I think it opens the door to figure out, okay, we did this for one group. What is the potential or the impacts that it would potentially have on other groups? That's kind of what I think about.
Yeah, we can definitely look into what that would take and talk to the fire department about it, and then come back and talk to this group.
Thank you. All right, so those are the proposed changes. Is there any further discussion about any of the proposed changes?
No other questions.
All right, so I'm going to propose that we adopt all of the changes, the ones for 2.13, the ones for 8.07, the amendment that it's executive director or designee from the Civil Service Department. 909 as prepared, 915 with the proposed change of under the preparation period to replace the second time with the word beginning, and then the ones as proposed for 9.20. So I will make a motion to approve those changes.
I second that motion.
All right.
So first, Chair, just one quick question on the change related to the or designee from the Civil Service Department. So we understand that it is both public safety civil service and civil service under the Civil Service Department. So I understand that makes sense. So I guess what my question is, would it be better just to say public safety civil service? Or would you think it's better to say? So I think the way it's.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point.
Because I don't think we use that terminology that way in these rules, because these just relate to public safety civil service. So it'd be a or designee from public safety civil service.
Well, and I think actually even better than that, why don't we say the executive director or designee from the public safety exams unit, to be even more specific.
Okay. From the public, sorry, what was that again?
Public safety exams unit.
Exam unit. All right. Okay, any further discussion about about any of these changes?
So just to be clear, you maybe just, so you make the motion to, as amended now.
All right,
Second. that
so
motion.
as I will make a new motion that we approve those changes with the sort of supplemental amendment to our growth amendment to 8.07, which would now read the executive director or designee from the public safety exam unit may admit the examination.
Yes, I second that motion.
All right. So any further discussion about any of these proposed changes? All right. So so all in favor of these of the motion, please say aye. Aye. And anybody opposed or sorry opposed to the motion, say no. All right. So it looks like those are approved. Did you hear?
Did not hear from.
Sorry, Tom, what was your vote on this?
I voted aye.
Oh, okay, thanks. All right. All right, so that concludes those things. The next item on the agenda is the so having a retreat or a hearing prep in August. Is that our regular schedule? Yeah. Okay. All right. And that was going to be with the Civil Service Committee because they've got something coming up. Is that right?
No, they're gonna do it at their regular, they're gonna do it at their meeting and we'll do ours at our meeting.
Gotcha. All right. So do we need to approve that or anything? That this sort of notice?
No, the meeting will start at the same time. It will just go longer.
Okay, great. So the next item on the agenda is executive session. Is there any need for executive session today? Seeing none.
And just real quick to confirm, Teresa, the one before about the August 21st, that is the same time, right? Because the other commission, it was a different time.
Yes.
Okay, so they don't need to. Okay.
All right. Is there any old or new business that we need to discuss? Seeing none. Our next meeting is on Thursday, May 15th. We have some protest reviews there. So if there's no other business, I'm going to move that we adjourn. And is there any discussion? All right, so all in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so we stand adjourned at 11. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Applegate. Take care.